Howdy, it's Jim Morado. It's early November 2020, and we are driving around Grand Rapids, Michigan. And just to be specific, we're kind of driving around the southeast area as I looked at Google Maps a moment ago of Grand Rapids. Grand Rapids is a pretty significant town. It's, I believe, the second biggest city in Michigan, and it's got a lot going for it. But we spent just a few days in that area recently, just kind of mellowing out. My wife's aunt and uncle live in this area, and I find this just to be a very relaxing area. Once every couple years or so, we find ourselves hanging out with her aunt and uncle, and this to me is just, when I think of this part of America, I think relaxation. They're just a pleasant retired couple, and they know interesting, fun stuff to do that's not crazy. And we will go up here and hang out with them, and we'll take a couple books with us. And it's just a really really pleasant, relaxing time. And I really enjoy hanging out with them because they like to hit museums. They like bookstores and coffee shops like we do, and they like to get up early and go to bed early, and that's what I like to do too these days. So we enjoy hanging out with them. And when I think about specifically this little kind of southeastern part of Grand Rapids, I think pleasant coffee shops, museums. We didn't do it on this trip, but in the past we've gone to the Gerald Ford Presidential Museum, which is wonderful. And it's I believe it's closed right now because of COVID. But that tells you a little bit about this area. Gerald Ford, I love Gerald Ford, one of my favorite presidents. Also, we've been to the Meyer Sculpture Garden. Frederick Meyer, who founded Meyer Groceries, was from this area too. And there's a wonderful sculpture garden where artists were commissioned to make some nice pieces and put them out. And again, when my wife's aunt and uncle told me about this, I thought, wow, that sounds like a lot of fun. And we went, and let me tell you, it was a lot of fun. It kind of blew my mind. But we did that on an all-day trip several years ago. We didn't do that this time. On this particular trip, we just kind of went and drove around with them. And that was something we both kind of needed right now. We didn't want to go somewhere crazy and do lots of crazy stuff. We just kind of wanted to go and do mellow stuff. So we absolutely did that on this particular trip. And we went to a few places that I wanted to mention to you. Businesses that I just thought were really nice. We're actually riding around in their van. So I've just got my camera stuck out to the left where I was sitting, so you don't have a front view on this particular day, but gives you a rough idea of what the area is like. And like I said, we found ourselves in this area on other trips. I know we've gone to Canada, and then we've stopped by to see them at points. We did a trip several years ago where we circled Lake Michigan, and we stopped by their house on the kind of eastern part of that circle. And that was a great trip too, by the way. I need to talk about that sometime. To me, circling Lake Michigan is almost like it reminded me a lot of New England. You're by water, and you've got all these little kind of lakeside towns that felt very New Englandish to me, even though obviously you're not in New England. It's something. Think about that if you're ever thinking about a nice little 1 week trip to take. And New England sounds nice, but maybe it's too far, or you might think it's out of your budget. Circle Lake Michigan. I promise you, you'll have just as much fun. We hit Traverse City, we hit Green Bay, Wisconsin, lots of neat towns, and even the bigger towns, like I mentioned, Green Bay has kind of a nice small town vibe going for it. Yeah, so this is the we're up in Michigan, and we're just driving around. especially with this little section, I found out about a bookstore and a coffee shop that I had to try in this area, and I just wanted to mention those two places. My friend Holly in Cincinnati, who's very artsy, and she loves Michigan. She's she's a story herself for another day, but she knows coffee too, and she knows how much I love coffee. She told me about the coffee shop, and I don't even know if I'm pronouncing this right. It's Schuil, Schuil, Schuil Coffee, out of out of Grand Rapids, and she had ordered some coffee from them, some flavored coffee, online, and she loved it. And she's gotten to where she's ordering from them a lot, and she actually won a contest. They had a suggest a flavor contest, and she suggested strawberries and cream, and she won their contest. I think she won like a bag of coffee or something for a year, something pretty cool. But she said this place is really special, so she told us to make sure we went there. They've actually got several shops around Grand Rapids, but this I believe is their flagship store. Check out that selection behind the counter, and that's not even the whole picture. That's just what I got in one photo. But she said we had to stop there and check this place out. And like I said, she said it was special, which, does it have coffee? And if it has coffee, it's special. But this place is special. I believe it's kind of open right now. I'm sure they've moved out seating because of the world at the moment. But it's just a nice, bright, open place. And they have a ton of different flavors. And I'm getting to that point in my life where I have to have decaf. They have a lot of decaf, so basically all their flavors are available in decaf. And we actually bought probably about we bought a bunch of different coffees to take home with us, and I have been drinking them lately. And it's these are definitely some of the best flavored coffees I've brought home, and they still have that great taste once you bring them home. This is a really nice place. Check them out. We talked to a manager there. I believe her name was Casey or Cassie. I'm so sorry, but she was so sweet and bubbly. And our friend Holly had been dealing with her over the phone, and told us to ask for her if we were there, and we did. And it was just a really nice experience. And we bought coffees while we were there too, and they were great. But their flavor selection, they have a Michigan sweet cherry that I've really been enjoying lately too. There's a raspberry thing I've had lately that's great also. But they've got a lot of great flavors, and they hold up well. And I'm sure we're going to be ordering from them more. But I just wanted to mention that. Check them out if you're in Grand Rapids, or just check them out online. Just a wonderful, wonderful place that they know what they're doing with their coffee. And I like a lot of coffee shops, and I can't say that. There's some coffee shops I like a lot that struggle a little bit. Their coffee's not perfect, but this is a place that gets it right. And I'm definitely going to rank them easily one of my top 5 coffee shops I've ever been to, period. They got the flavoring perfect. So, yeah, we drove around a little bit more through here. There's a really nice mall in the area that's just very open, very cozy, and we always hit this little mall up here. But there's also a bookstore that I looked up called Baker's Bookhouse, or Baker Books. It's a Christian bookstore, which is not my personal favorite genre of book or type of bookstore. But this is kind of an over-the-top Christian bookstore. It's huge. They have a little cafe, coffee shop area, and the place is just massive. I've never seen a Christian bookstore this big, and their selection was how can I say this? It was more academic than some of the other Christian bookstores I've went to. They had some books that weren't, just they were more researched. They had some more interesting books than I've seen at some other Christian bookstores. And I guess if you're wanting to deep dive into the Bible, this would be the place to go. This isn't some they probably had some of the other books too that are kind of maybe not so well researched, but they had a lot of good, again, academic type books, and I was impressed with that. My mother-in-law, I've mentioned this before on some of my other videos, she loves Christian fiction. So I actually took a few pictures. These are some pictures I took, and I texted to her just for her to kind of look at the covers and get a vibe of what they had, and then she texted me back and told me to look, for this author or that author or the specific book. So I ended up picking up a few books for her while I was here. But their selection is just over the top. And they have a huge used book selection. It kind of reminded me of being in a library. And they had, of course, tons of Bibles, tons of church supplies, and that kind of stuff too. But I love this bookstore, and I look forward to going back at some point. Very cozy, very friendly staff, and I just like what they're doing. Anyway, so yeah, that was just our recent trip to Grand Rapids, Michigan. Nice area, and just a relaxing place to be with a cool coffee shop and a cool bookstore. You can't beat that.